Right now, at this exact moment, something is happening inside your body that your doctor has almost certainly never described to you. Your immune system is stalking and killing cells that could have become cancer. Not someday, not theoretically, right now. According to the National Cancer Institute, your immune system identifies and destroys precancerous cells every single day, a process called immune surveillance that runs continuously around the clock for your entire life. Your body has a built-in cancer defense system that is more sophisticated than anything medicine has ever invented. But 5 very specific, very common lifestyle habits are quietly switching it off. My name is Dr. James Allison. I won the 2018 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for discovering how to unlock the immune system against cancer. And in the next 30 minutes, I am going to show you exactly what those 5 mistakes are, and precisely what the research says you can do to correct them starting today. I have spent more than 30 years at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas, one of the world's leading cancer research institutions, studying a single question: why does the immune system sometimes fail to destroy cancer, and what can we do to stop that from happening? The answer led me to a protein called CTLA-4. Think of it as an emergency handbrake on your immune system's T cells, the special forces units that hunt cancer. When CTLA-4 is activated, it slams that brake on. Your T cells stand down. Cancer takes advantage. Discovering how to release that brake, what we now call immune checkpoint blockade therapy, earned the 2018 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. It has put stage 4 melanoma patients into full remission when nothing else worked. I remember a patient, a retired firefighter from outside Houston, 61 years old. He had done what he thought was everything right: grilled chicken instead of red meat, walking the neighborhood every morning, never smoked a day in his life. He was genuinely shocked by his diagnosis. What nobody had told him was that there were invisible processes working against him every night while he slept. Processes I am going to explain in precise detail today. This channel exists because the research is too important to stay locked inside academic journals. Today's video is about the 5 most damaging mistakes the peer-reviewed evidence identifies, and exactly how to correct them. Quick favor before we go deeper into this. A lot of people watch multiple videos here and have not subscribed yet. If this science-based information could help someone you care about, a parent, a spouse, a friend facing a health challenge, subscribing takes 2 seconds and helps this channel reach more people who genuinely need this. It costs you nothing. For someone else, it could mean everything. Most people believe that if they eat reasonably well and stay somewhat active, their cancer risk is well managed. Mainstream wellness culture reinforces this idea constantly. But here is what nobody tells you. Reasonably well and somewhat active may not be enough to keep your immune surveillance system operating at the level the research says it needs to be. The conventional approach focuses almost entirely on what goes into your body: calories, macros, steps per day. But the real story is happening at the cellular and immune level, and most routine checkups never measure it. I had a patient, a 58-year-old school teacher from Ohio. Let's call her Margaret. She ate salad every single day. She walked 5 miles every morning. She was proud of her habits, and rightfully so, but her inflammatory markers were high. Her NK cell activity, natural killer cells, your immune system's frontline cancer patrol, was significantly suppressed. She was doing the surface-level things right, but 5 deeper mechanisms were working against her, and nobody had told her they existed. The American Cancer Society reports that approximately 1 in 2 Americans will receive a cancer diagnosis at some point in their lifetime. That is not a genetic sentence. That is an immune system failure, one that lifestyle factors contribute to significantly. The real cause is happening at the immune and cellular level. It involves your natural killer cells, your T cells, and the daily habits that either arm them or disarm them. There is one specific mechanism your immune system uses to identify cancer cells, a biological display window built into every healthy cell in your body. When your lifestyle disrupts it, cancer cells become invisible. I will explain exactly how that works and how to protect it in the next segment. So if the mainstream advice is incomplete, what does 30 years of Nobel Prize-winning research say is actually happening inside your body? That is exactly what we are covering right now. Here's the core biology, and I am going to make it completely plain and simple. Every healthy cell in your body has something like a shop window on its surface. It is called an MHC class Y molecule. That window constantly displays a sample of the proteins your cell is making inside. Your T cells, the cancer-hunting special forces of your immune system, cruise past those windows constantly. They have memorized what a healthy protein looks like. The moment they see a corrupted one, a cancer protein, they destroy that cell immediately. Now here is the analogy I want you to hold on to. The analogy: imagine 60,000 miles of American highway, the length of your entire blood vessel network. Now imagine special forces checkpoints every half mile. Every vehicle, every cell has to show its credentials. Healthy cells show their ID and pass through. Cells producing cancer proteins, the checkpoint shuts them down immediately. That is your immune surveillance system when it is working correctly. But here is what 30 years of research at MD Anderson Cancer Center has made unmistakably clear. 5 common daily habits degrade those checkpoints. They reduce NK cell activity. They suppress T cell function. They allow cancer cells to hide in plain sight. A 2019 review published in Nature Reviews Immunology confirmed that lifestyle factors, including sleep, diet, physical activity, stress, and alcohol, directly modulate NK cell and T cell activity, altering the body's ability to perform immune surveillance against cancer. Which brings us to what you can actually do about this, starting today. Here are the 5 mistakes the research says are most damaging to your cancer defense system, and exactly how to correct each one. Mistake number 1, chronic stress, the invisible immune suppressor. Why it happens when your body perceives chronic stress, not the brief, useful kind, but the prolonged, unrelenting kind. It releases cortisol and related hormones continuously. According to research cited by the American Psychological Association, this sustained cortisol release directly reduces both the number and the killing activity of natural killer cells and T cells. In practical terms, your Cancer Patrol special forces are being recalled from active duty every single day that chronic stress continues. The science. The American Psychological Association references research showing that prolonged psychological stress suppresses NK cell and T cell activity, 2 of the primary immune mechanisms responsible for identifying and clearing precancerous cells. This is not a minor effect. This is measurable immune suppression occurring in response to an everyday experience that millions of Americans live with continuously. How to use it. Dr. Allison's clinical observation, reinforced by the published literature, is that stress management is not a lifestyle luxury. It is a biological necessity for immune function. The evidence supports specific, structured interventions. Diaphragmatic breathing, practiced for 10 minutes daily, has been shown in peer-reviewed studies to lower cortisol measurably. Apps available on any smartphone, free options include Insight Timer and Calm, make this immediately accessible to anyone. Exact dose, 10 minutes of structured deep breathing or mindfulness practice per day. The research shows this duration is sufficient to produce measurable cortisol reduction. Consistency matters more than duration. Daily practice outperforms occasional longer sessions. Now here is where it gets even more interesting, because mistake number 2 operates on a completely different mechanism, and it may be affecting you right now, even as you watch this. One of the 5 mistakes I am about to share suppresses NK cell activity by more than 70% in a single night. A single night. I will give you the exact study and the exact number, coming up in mistake number 2. Mistake number 2, sleeping less than 7 hours, NK cell collapse. Stop for a moment. If you have ever said, "I will catch up on sleep on the weekend," what I am about to tell you needs to change that habit permanently. Why it happens during deep sleep: your immune system does its most intensive maintenance work. NK cells, your natural killer cells, the frontline Cancer Patrol units, are activated and deployed during sleep cycles. The CDC's public health guidance on sleep and the immune system is unambiguous. Less than 7 hours of sleep per night significantly reduces the activity of natural killer cells. Think of sleep as the command center that dispatches your Cancer Patrol units. No sleep, no dispatch. The Science CDC research on sleep and immune function confirms that sleeping fewer than 7 hours per night significantly reduces natural killer cell activity, impairing the body's ability to identify and clear abnormal cells during a critical daily surveillance window. This is not about feeling tired. This is about your immune surveillance system losing its nightly activation window. Every single night you fall short. How to use it. Dr. Allison's team at MD Anderson consistently flags sleep as a modifiable variable that patients underestimate catastrophically. The single most effective intervention, according to sleep science, a fixed wake time 7 days a week, not a fixed bedtime, a fixed wake time. Your circadian rhythm anchors around it automatically. Eliminate screens 60 minutes before bed. The blue light wavelength specifically suppresses melatonin, the hormone that initiates the immune-activating sleep cascade. Exact dose 7 to 9 hours per night, consistent, not averaged, across the week. The research shows that weekend catch-up sleep does not fully restore suppressed NK cell function. Nightly consistency is the variable that matters. But solution number 3 surprised even the researchers who ran the original studies, because the mechanism connects two body systems most people never think of together. Mistake. Number 3, ultra-processed diet, inflaming your defense system. The myth, eating somewhat healthy most of the time, is sufficient protection. The research correction. A diet high in ultra-processed foods drives chronic systemic inflammation. And that inflammation does not just make you feel bad. It actively creates an environment where tumor development is favored over immune destruction. Why it happens? Ultra-processed foods, packaged snacks, fast food, sweetened beverages, most frozen meals are low in fiber, antioxidants, and the micronutrients your immune cells depend on to function. A landmark study published in the BMJ in 2018, analyzing data from more than 100,000 participants, found that each 10% increase in ultra-processed food consumption was associated with a statistically significant increase in overall cancer risk. The mechanism: these foods promote systemic inflammation, which produces reactive oxygen species that damage DNA and simultaneously suppress the immune cells designed to clear abnormal cells. In Dr. Allison's clinical conversations at MD Anderson, a recurring pattern emerges. Patients describe diets they genuinely believe are healthy, and by calorie or macro standards, they may be close. But when you examine the inflammatory load, the fiber content, the antioxidant density, the picture is very different. A 63-year-old engineer from Dallas described eating clean while consuming processed granola bars, low-fat packaged snacks, and diet sodas daily. His C-reactive protein, a key inflammatory marker, was significantly elevated. Diet was the primary driver. Nobody had connected those dots for him. The science. A 2018 prospective cohort study published in the BMJ involving 104,980 adults found that a 10% increase in ultra-processed food consumption was associated with a 12% increase in overall cancer risk and an 11% increase in breast cancer risk. How to use it. The most effective dietary shift identified in the literature is not about perfection. It is about displacement. Replace one ultra-processed item per day with a whole food equivalent, and you begin reducing inflammatory load immediately. Prioritize fiber and antioxidants. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, berries, legumes, and leafy greens are available at Walmart, Costco, and every grocery chain in America. NIH research on gut microbiome health confirms that fiber feeds the gut bacteria that train and regulate immune function, meaning every serving of whole plant food is a direct investment in your cancer defense system. Exact dose. The BMJ Studies Risk Reduction Association corresponds to reducing ultra-processed food to less than 15% of total caloric intake. Practical target: 5 or more servings of vegetables and fruits daily, plus 25 to 38 grams of dietary fiber per day, the amount shown in research to support gut microbiome diversity. There is one specific nutrient deficiency that disables the activation of T cells entirely, making them unable to respond even when they detect a cancer signal. Most Americans are deficient in it. I will name it precisely, and they're coming up in mistake number 5. This next mechanism, most physicians have never connected it to immune surveillance, but the evidence is unambiguous. Mistake number 4, sedentary lifestyle, parking your cancer patrol. Here is something the fitness industry has never told you, and it has nothing to do with weight loss or cardiovascular health. Regular physical activity is one of the most potent mobilizers of cancer-fighting immune cells in your entire body. Why it happens. A sedentary lifestyle does not just reduce physical fitness. It reduces the circulation of NK cells and T cells through your bloodstream, the very patrol routes your immune system uses to find and destroy abnormal cells. Research published in an NIH index study confirms that regular physical activity increases the mobilization of NK cells and T cells in the bloodstream, improving their ability to detect and respond to abnormal cellular changes. Think of your immune cells as highway patrol units. Exercise opens the highways. Inactivity closes them down. The myth: exercise matters primarily for weight management and heart health. The research correction: even at a normal body weight, a sedentary lifestyle measurably suppresses immune cell circulation and surveillance capacity. The immune benefit of exercise is independent of weight loss. The Science NIH research on exercise and immune function demonstrates that regular moderate-intensity physical activity increases NK cell and T cell mobilization in the bloodstream, directly enhancing the immune system's capacity for cancer surveillance, independent of any effect on body weight. Before you assume this requires a gym membership or an hour a day, the research does not support that threshold. The effective dose is far more achievable than most people realize. How to use it. Moderate intensity activity, brisk walking, cycling, swimming, is sufficient to produce the immune mobilization effect identified in the research. Intensity matters, but it does not require elite-level effort. The most important variable is consistency. 4 to 5 sessions per week outperforms 2 long sessions separated by 5 days of inactivity. Breaking up sitting time matters independently. Standing and walking for 5 minutes every hour produces measurable benefits in immune cell circulation compared to uninterrupted sitting. Exact dose: 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity aerobic activity, the same threshold supported by NIH immune function research. This equals 30 minutes, 5 days per week. Achievable for most people. Without a gym membership or special equipment, a brisk walk qualifies. Hold on before you move past this, because mistake number 5 acts as a multiplier on everything we have just covered. Get this one wrong and all 4 of the previous corrections are less effective. Mistake number 5. Alcohol and vitamin D deficiency, the hidden dual threat. Mistake number 5 is actually 2 connected threats that most people treat as entirely separate issues. The research connects them through a shared mechanism. Both impair the activation and function of your T cells. Alcohol, why it happens. The National Cancer Institute's published guidance on alcohol and cancer risk is direct. Even moderate alcohol consumption can interfere with the body's ability to absorb vital nutrients and directly damages cellular DNA, increasing the mutation burden while simultaneously suppressing immune function. More mutations, fewer immune cells able to clear them. This is not a theoretical risk. It is a documented biological cascade. Vitamin D, the open loop closed. This is the T cell activation factor I mentioned earlier. NIH-indexed research confirms that vitamin D plays a critical role in the activation of T cells. Without sufficient vitamin D levels, T cells enter a dormant state. They cannot mount an effective response even when they detect an abnormal cell. The immune system sees the threat and cannot act. The science. NIH research on vitamin D and immune function demonstrates that vitamin D is essential for T cell activation. T cells that encounter a threat without adequate vitamin D signaling remain in a dormant, non-responsive state, directly impairing cancer surveillance capacity. The National Cancer Institute's published research on alcohol and cancer risk identifies alcohol as both a direct DNA mutagen and an immune suppressant, a dual mechanism that simultaneously increases the rate of cellular mutations and reduces the immune system's capacity to clear them. How to use it for vitamin D. The most reliable method is a blood test. Ask your physician for a 25-hydroxyvitamin D test. Many physicians will order this without hesitation, and it provides a precise baseline. Vitamin D3 supplements are available at Costco, Walmart, and every pharmacy in the United States, among the least expensive supplements on the market. For alcohol, the NCI evidence does not establish a threshold below which DNA damage and immune suppression do not occur. The dose-response relationship is linear. The research supports reduction as the goal. Exact dose. For vitamin D, NIH research and clinical literature associate optimal immune function with serum levels of 40-60 ng/ml. Many physicians use a supplementation dose of 2,000-4,000 IU of vitamin D3 daily to maintain this range, but test first, then supplement with your physician's guidance. For alcohol, the NCI evidence supports the lowest possible intake as the immunologically safest position. What I'm about to show you next takes everything we have covered and assembles it into one coherent daily plan built directly from this research. Here is the Allison Protocol, a complete daily plan built directly from Dr. James Allison's 30 years of immune system research at MD Anderson Cancer Center. Morning 10 minutes of structured diaphragmatic breathing or mindfulness before checking your phone. This is your cortisol reset. It is not optional. With meals, at least 1 cup of cruciferous or leafy green vegetables per meal. Prioritize fiber at every eating occasion. 8 to 10 grams per meal is your target. Displace 1 ultra-processed item per day with a whole food equivalent. Daily movement, 30 minutes of brisk walking or equivalent moderate intensity activity. Break sitting time every hour with 5 minutes of movement. Non-negotiable, not because of calories, but because of immune cell mobilization. Evening screens off 60 minutes before your fixed bedtime. This is your melatonin protection window. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Your NK cells activate during deep sleep cycles. This is their daily deployment. Weekly review your vitamin D status. If untested, schedule a 25-hydroxyvitamin D blood test this week. Evaluate your alcohol intake honestly against the NCI evidence. Reduce by 1 unit per week as a practical starting goal. Eliminate ultra-processed foods as a dietary staple. This does not require perfection, it requires displacement. Every whole food you add pushes a processed food out. Start with breakfast. Track your progress. Week 1, improved sleep quality and reduced morning grogginess. The first measurable sign that your stress and sleep interventions are recalibrating your circadian rhythm and cortisol pattern. Weeks 2-4, reduction in digestive discomfort and bloating as gut microbiome diversity begins to shift. Improved energy levels during activity. Ask your physician to recheck inflammatory markers, CRP, IL-6 at your next visit. Week 8, measurable shift in inflammatory markers if rechecked. The research associates consistent adherence to these 5 interventions with improved NK cell activity and reduced systemic inflammation, the 2 most important markers of functional immune surveillance. 3 insider clinical tips. Tip 1. In Dr. Allison's clinical experience at MD Anderson, the sequence matters. Sleep first. Patients who normalize sleep before addressing diet see faster improvement in inflammatory markers than those who do the reverse. Sleep is the foundation everything else builds on. Tip 2. What the research team at MD Anderson found in practice was that gut microbiome recovery, the diversity of bacteria that regulate 70% of your immune function, accelerates significantly when fermented foods are added alongside increased fiber. 1 serving of plain yogurt, kefir, or kimchi daily alongside fiber-rich foods produces a measurably faster microbiome shift than fiber alone. Tip 3. The stress-sleep connection is bidirectional. Improving sleep reduces cortisol. Reducing cortisol improves sleep quality. Starting either intervention breaks the cycle. You do not need to fix both simultaneously. Start with whichever one feels most achievable. What science does not know yet, the science on the precise dose-response relationship between specific lifestyle interventions and measurable NK cell activity in healthy adults, is still developing. We do not yet have large-scale, long-term RCT data that tracks immune surveillance capacity as a primary outcome across all 5 of these variables simultaneously. What current evidence does show, across multiple high-quality observational studies and mechanistic research, is a consistent and significant association between each of these factors and immune function. Dr. Allison's team and researchers globally are continuing this work actively. Who must consult their physician first? Anyone currently on immunosuppressant medications, anyone with an autoimmune condition, anyone currently in active cancer treatment of any kind, anyone who is pregnant or nursing, anyone who has had organ transplant surgery or is immunocompromised for any reason. Please share this video with your physician and have this conversation. Do not implement supplements without their guidance. The trust statement. This is not a cure. Nothing in this video replaces your medical team's guidance. What this is the best available peer-reviewed evidence, explained honestly, so you can have a more informed and productive conversation with your doctor. This is not a guarantee. Individual results vary based on genetics, overall lifestyle, existing conditions, and many factors we are still studying. What the evidence does support is a meaningful association between these 5 correctable factors and measurable immune function. If this information could genuinely help someone you love, a parent worried about cancer, a spouse managing a chronic condition, a friend who feels out of options, please share this video right now. Cancer will affect 1 in 2 Americans in their lifetime. The Nobel Prize science in this video could change someone's outcome. That is not an exaggeration. That is 30 years of research. In my next video, I am breaking down the gut microbiome's direct role in cancer immunity, specifically how a single course of antibiotics can reset your immune surveillance capacity for months afterward. Most people are completely wrong about this, and it could be silently compromising millions of Americans' cancer defenses right now. Do not miss it, and if you want the Allison Protocol and a complete reference guide with every study cited, exact doses, and the full daily plan laid out clearly, the link is in the description below. I'm Dr. James Allison. Keep trusting the science. I'll see you in the next one.